The top of the Empire State Building.
Z100, New York.
It's Z100. It is International Women's Day. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to take a little time here. We're going to discuss what it means to break the bias from work-life balance and lack of flexibility to hostile work environments, setting boundaries, negotiating salaries, a lot of things that maybe it might be a little uncomfortable to talk about, but we need to talk about them. My name is Danielle Monaro, co-host of Elvis Duran and the Z100 Morning Show. With me is Gandhi, also a co-host from Elvis Duran and the Morning Show, and Crystal Rosas from our afternoon show.
¿Cómo estás?
Shelley Rome, who hosts late nights here at Z100.
Hi.
What's up, ladies?
How you doing?
We out here.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
First of all, it's so nice that they let us do things like this here at iHeart.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right?
I would have appreciated, however, in honor of International Women's Day, to have the day off. But if instead they choose to make us work more, cool. Whatever.
Yeah, not me. I want to talk. Like, give me all the vibe. I'm fine, but I do appreciate if we couldn't
If the guys are going to step aside and we get to take ownership of the airways, I'm all for it. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure last year we tried that, didn't we?
We did.
Gandhi and I
Yeah.
were like, oh, they want us to host the show. We just want to sleep in.
Oh, yeah.
Did they listen?
No.
No,
we
we hosted
we hosted the show. It was good. It was good.
And they spin it. They're like, but guys, we're uplifting you. This is your time to shine.
And then my favorite part is the guy saying, oh, well, then we'll just stay home. We're like, no.
No, how does that work?
Yeah,
You're our assistants all day. That's how it works.
I say International Women's Day, we should make them feel the burn of not being around. Then they really appreciate us more.
Gandhi, you're onto something.
Next year, iHeart, next year.
I know not everybody here started at Z100. So maybe
Right.
for some people who don't know our background stories, we should start with that.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I did not start at Z100. I started in Columbus, Ohio, and I was hired full-time to work as a producer of a morning show when I was still in college. So I would go to school after the show all day, and then I would go to my second job because, let's be honest, when you start in radio, you're not making money.
Oh, not at all.
So
$4.25 an hour I made. Starting.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What?
$4.25 an hour. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. My salary was $24,000 a year. My
God,
salary
my
for
heart.
the year. Exactly. And, really quickly to talk about negotiating salaries, my boss there told me that I made the biggest mistake ever by just accepting it. I was so excited when I got that job because here I am going to my college final. Like, yes, I got a job. Ah, suckers. Like, it was great. He said, no, you absolutely should have negotiated because I had more money to give you. I was waiting to see if you did it. You didn't, and you screwed yourself going forward because then every raise is based on that money that you started with.
Oh
so,
my gosh.
ladies, negotiate. From Columbus, I went to Boston. I was the executive producer of Maddie in the Morning. And then New York reached out, and here I am with you.
Yes.
And this is my first co-hosting job. So, it's exciting.
By the way, you are killing
Doing it.
your duties
Yes, you
as
are.
co-host.
Shelley Rome, I love you for that. I always creep text Shelley, and I say, I don't know if I've told you, but I just really love the way your voice sounds. So, yeah.
She does.
Love you. I do.
Gandhi knows how I feel about her.
All right,
Okay,
so
sorry.
Shelley, how did you start?
I actually started here at Z100. I interned with Elvis Duran and the
That's right.
Z100 Morning
That's
Show.
right.
I was Danielle Monaro's intern. And just, first of all, interning on that show really solidified my passion for radio and made me realize this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Not to just say this because I'm sitting with two of the members of that show, but it's one of the most uplifting, one of the most encouraging environments to really work in. Everybody was just so encouraging and really, I wasn't getting coffee for anybody. Elvis Duran felt so bad asking me to get him coffee one time. I interned the entire time. He was like, I'm sorry, I don't want to ask you this, but I really need coffee this morning. I'm like, I got you. Don't worry. Oh my God. It was such an incredible experience. So from interning here, I was hired as a phone producer and I answered phones for the afternoon guy, for the weekend people. And then I bounced around. I went to a radio station on Long Island. I went to a radio station in Connecticut. I did an online radio station before iHeart was iHeart, and then I got the call. I did a syndicated show rather for a while, and then I got the call, and I was like, "Hey, do you wanna be overnights here at Z100?" And I was like, "Do I?"
Absolutely.
So I actually was really lucky. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, so I got to sort of work my way up in the tri-state, continuously local. So I was really lucky in that aspect.
That's so funny because that's the same thing I did because I interned here first from college at St. John's University, and I think that's how I got my foot in the door because somebody came to the radio station at the college and was like, "Hey, who wants to intern at Z100?" I'm like, "Me!"
Oh, wow.
I got the call, right? I got the call that I got the internship in one of my classes where my professor was like, "Go take the call." Let me take it. Got here, and then I would come in at 5 a.m. and leave at 5 p.m. Not getting paid a penny, but just walking around like, "Hey, does anybody need any help? Does anybody need any help?" And then I just worked my way up. And I remember Tom Pullman, who is like, I think he runs iHeart at this point. He gave me my first contract on radio.
Wow.
And it was such a difference from the $4.25 I was making because I was answering the phone, and, little things here and there that I almost fainted on the floor. Because I was like, what is this? This is a what? And it really wasn't a crazy amount of money, but because of what I was making, it seemed like it was.
Yeah.
And I honestly almost fainted. And Tom always says it's one of his favorite moments because I was running around his office like a chicken without a head, like so excited I was signing with Z100.
I can picture that.
So cool, yeah.
So cool.
So Crystal, how about you?
Yes, I was born in California. I grew up in Oakland, and I know we kind of get annoyed by the people that always call for prizes and tickets, but that was me. That's how I got my foot in the door because in San Francisco they just couldn't get rid of me. I was always begging for tickets for things, and then I started interning, and then I started interning on the morning show there in San Francisco, and then my experience was so different than Gandhi's because Gandhi, I went into my first meeting about getting paid negotiating. I mean, he told me, "Hey, this is what we're offering," and I was like, "No, can we do this?" And they didn't hire me; they hired someone else.
Oh,
Because I did the exact same opposite thing that you did, which is crazy. So they didn't even hire me. But some time went on, and they're like, "Yeah, this girl quit. She can't do it like you did. Can you please come back? We're still not going to give you what you want, but we'll make things happen for you." And it really did.
That's
I
awesome.
was working on the morning show for a little bit. Then my mom brought me to a mother-daughter trip here to New York City for the first time ever in 2018. And that's when I was like, peace out. I'm going to move to New York and do my thing. But then I ended up getting my own night show in San Francisco, so I couldn't say no to that.
Right.
But I kept coming, and I wanted to be on Z100 so bad. I wanted to be here with you, Danielle Gandhi and Shelley, so bad. So I finally got that great call that I'm making it over to Z100, and I'm hosting afternoons now with Maxwell. I'm the first Latina to ever do it, the first woman in the afternoon slot. So I'm super, super excited and grateful and thankful to be here with you, amazing women in radio.
Nice.
And congratulations. I know.
Yes, that's amazing.
Because you're the newest member to our team right now.
Yeah.
So we're all still getting to know each other, and so far it's been great, and that's a big accomplishment. So
Thank you.
shout out to
Clap
you,
it up for
Max.
Crystal.
Yeah.
All of us, actually, all of us doing it, still out here on the mics.
All right, so we need to get a little serious now. So
Damn it.
I know. But so we have the first thing we want to talk about is the influence of unconscious bias, men and women alike. Now, I looked up exactly what unconscious bias mean because I think a lot of people might hear it for the first time and go, "What does that mean?" You know what I mean?
That's what I did. I was like, huh?
It's our brains making incredibly quick judgments and assessments of people and situations without us realizing. You're unaware. Like you see somebody from a different culture and you right away assume that because of the stereotype, they do this or they do that or they don't do this or they don't do that. And, you don't give them the chance that they deserve. And, I'm sure I don't think there's anyone in this world can say they've never done that before. I think everyone, unfortunately, and like you say, you don't do it without thinking, has thought something stupid like that before. You know what I mean?
I do it often.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. And that can make that actually, if it happens in your workplace, it definitely can make it a bullying situation or some other situation. So is anybody in here, familiar with this, or have you experienced it yourselves?
I think all of us have experienced it. I think that, you're saying unconscious because it's obviously not something that a lot of people think about.
Right.
But even when it comes to terminology that's used in the workplace, so much of it is based around sports, right?
Yeah.
So people say that was subpar. Maybe you don't play golf and you might not know what par is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that goes into a man's world created by men that we are clearly part of, but we don't get to be part of all these things because we don't know some of this stuff. Now, of course, as women in the workplace, we obviously realize that and we figure it out real quickly, right? So if there's something you don't know, you go and look it up.
Yep.
But the unconscious bias is the guys don't have to look some of that up because they're the ones that are running things and they're the ones who are making these decisions. The other bias, I think, how many of us are labeled as overly emotional in the workplace?
Oh, gosh,
Okay, please.
Right.
Yeah.
And totally going to hate on men because it's International Women's Day.
Yeah, we're
But-
allowed.
Right, just for today. we all know guys. We all work with the guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say they are far more emotional than we are.
Oh my gosh, some of them I think have their PMS going on more often than we have.
Yeah.
It's called manstrating.
Yes, seriously.
It's real.
Not even a joke.
Yes.
Just to bring up your sports analogy, have you ever talked to a man when his baseball or football or basketball team is lost?
The most
You
whiny
want to talk about
creature.
dramatic and emotional?
That's also Danielle.
That is true. Don't talk to me when the Jets are losing because it's not good.
So never talk to you?
Danielle's allowed.
exactly.
It's
With the
International
Yankees.
Women's Day, so she's allowed. No, but it's true. I mean, I think that's a really unfair sort of unconscious bias put on us. And then, sometimes I know I've had experiences, unfortunately, where I'm so passionate about my job and my career and my position, even here, and I've gone into my boss's office and I've actually. I was so overwhelmed, or I was so upset about something that I cried, and then and I'm it's because I'm just being so genuine, and I'm really just trying to express myself, and I can't hold back, and you want to hold back so much,
Right.
and you're
Right.
almost to the point where you can't breathe, and it's like I just have to let it out, and then all of a sudden you're the girl who cried,
Yes.
and it's
Weak,
like you
unstable.
can't, you're weak, unstable. Oh, is she okay? Should we handle her with kid gloves? And I'm
It
like.
must be her time of the month.
Right.
No, I'm pissed
Yeah.
regardless,
Yeah,
actually.
like I'm hurt and I'm human.
Right.
Like, and I am showing emotion. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? It's like showing emotion is weak.
Right.
And the double-edged sword with that is, as in general, women do tend to get more frustrated and cry rather than scream.
Yeah.
As Danielle knows, I'm more of a screamer. And more of the, I'm going to burn this place down. Yes, right? However, men kind of get a pass when they get angry and they yell about
Right.
things, right? And they're assertive, and it's okay because they're just, expressing how they feel in that moment.
Passionate.
Right. And when a woman cries, she's weak or she's emotional, whatever those words are.
She's
Where-
aggressive.
and
Yeah.
none of those words are okay, and none of that is true. And the more women we see in the workplace, the more women are starting to say, oh, that's some BS.
Yeah.
That's not true. We're having the same type of emotions. We express it differently. One's not weaker than the other.
Right.
One's not stronger than the other. They're all emotions. So I think that women get an unfair rap for being more emotional in the workplace. We all have them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And thinking of unconscious bias, just being here for less than a year and having a co-host that's a man, I've noticed things like when we're out at events or remotes, they'll start talking to him first as if I'm kind of just like the side person, or just they even assume I'm his girlfriend coming along for the ride sometimes.
Oh, wow.
People come into the studio and they just automatically start talking to him as if I'm a fly in the wall, not even there.
Right.
It's happened so many times. You ladies all know
Oh, yeah.
how that feels.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the, hi, I'm here too. I have to make my verse. Hi, my name's Crystal. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
This is my show as well, kind of thing. And it's something that I feel like is an everyday fight.
Yeah.
But I'm okay to do it and I'm ready to do it.
Yeah.
But it is that conversation of unconscious bias that women and men don't really realize it's happening, but it's happening. I'm living through it. I'm seeing it, and I'm happy that we're having this conversation to let people know that this is a thing, and don't just assume someone's a side piece or something else just because they are a woman.
Right.
I think it's honestly just sort of standing firm in who you are and what you believe and what you want and knowing your worth. And I think confidence is key. And not getting rattled, and and sort of learning how to express points and express yourself in a way that they can sort of understand it. And I think also there has to be some sort of understanding between, and I think our boss talked about this on social media a little while ago. She mentioned, our boss Thea, she's so great when it comes to this. She said, we need our male counterparts to sort of stand side by side with us and lift us up into these roles to sort of help us be on the same playing field as them. Like, I don't think we can do it alone, to be honest with you. I think we need the help. They have to sort of come down and help and bring us up to where they are and not be threatened by us. I mean, I think a lot of egos are really, really, ego is very much a big part of this entire equation. They're very fragile, way more fragile than ours.
You know how many people break up even in celebrity world? Because one of them was like the guy was making more than the girl and was more famous, and then all of a sudden the girl started making more money and she became more famous, and his ego couldn't handle that, and then they split. I'm not going to name any names, but you can Google those.
I know who you're thinking.
It's so true.
Oh yeah, it is so true.
And back to how we can address those things in a non-bitchy way. I think you said it first. Confidence, number one. And number two, just communicating. Just, raising your hand. Sometimes if I want to speak, I literally raise my hand because I'm like, I have something to say. I don't want to talk over you, but I have something to say. Or just letting people know your presence is there. You deserve to be heard.
Yeah.
And just saying it in a respectful way. I think bring things up is okay.
Yeah.
I think, and this might not be a very popular opinion, however, I don't know that there is a way to present yourself as a strong, confident woman without somebody, some way, perceiving you to be a bitch.
But wait, do you think one day maybe they won't look at what we do as bitchy?
I think that there is going to be a shift. I think, sadly, it is up to the people like us of this generation to carry that torch and be the ones who sort of shoulder the burden for the people going forward. And we need to be the women that we wish we saw growing up, who presented themselves confidently and didn't care whether somebody called them a bitch or not.
Right.
Because, Danielle, people say all kinds of stuff about me. Like, it is what it is. And I understand, sadly, I understand where it comes from, but I also have no intentions of changing my delivery or trying to dim metaphorically my light so that other people feel as though they can shine. I don't see a need for that. I don't think any women need to do that.
Right.
And I think that that is a really big struggle for all of us in the workplace. So whether or not people think you're a bitch about the way you present yourself the way that you can go home and sleep at night.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think let's talk about stereotypes for a minute, like coming off of that. A lot of times if you're in the workplace, they think like you're a woman in power, and a guy's going to say, well, I'm not going to listen to her. I'm not going to listen to some
Which
girl.
is such a
But I feel like a lot of times, like if say you're in a meeting with a bunch of guys and a bunch of girls, and a woman goes to give her opinion, and you can feel like they don't want to hear it. I think it, like you said, Gandhi, it might take a guy to stop and say, wait a second.
Yeah, let her
She
talk.
has something to say. Let's hear what she has to say. Maybe she's going to contribute something even better than we were going to contribute.
Absolutely.
Or a woman to step in and say, exactly.
And how many times are all of us sitting in a meeting and let's say one of us says something that is very important and very relevant and pointed, and it goes unheard and a man repeats it and suddenly it's, what a great idea.
Yes.
I never heard that before. Really? Did you not? Because I just said it. That's weird.
That has happened with Gandhi many times. And she'll text me and go, she will text me and go, didn't I just say that? I think so.
Like, is this thing on?
Yeah.
Did anyone hear that? It's crazy. But they say one of the most important phrases for women in the workplace to know and use unapologetically is, I just said that.
Right.
Because so many times you just say it, a guy says it louder, and he gets the credit for it.
Yeah.
And that's nonsensical. But you know what that makes us look like? Bitches.
Right.
So who cares?
Right.
Well, I think it's twofold. We have to stop caring what people think about us. That's a hard thing for me. I am definitely a people pleaser, and it's gotten me nowhere. When I literally am like, blanket. Nah. I can't believe I just said that. I really wanted to say the word, but I like my job. I'm like, that's when I actually make progress, is when I just stop caring. And I go home, like you said, at night, lay my head down on my pillow and go, I said what I said. I got it out. I stood up for myself. I feel good about myself. Whatever people think about me, it's not my business. So that's one. Two, I think there's power in numbers. I think if we're all in a meeting and we're all supporting each other as women, I think that's sort of another way to bring on change. Like if I'm supporting Gandhi and I'm supporting Danielle and I'm supporting Crystal, like we all have each other's back. We can uplift each other.
Yes.
While we do need men to uplift us as well, we need to be on the same team.
Oh my gosh.
And I think so many times, and it happens in every industry, we are pit against each other. And we become really catty because we are taught there can only be one of us in the room.
Do you know how many
There can't be more.
Gandhi and I will
Absolutely.
get a text message or something that says, come on, you guys aren't really friends. You hate each other off the air,
Oh.
right? And I'm like, no. I'm like, not at all. We do. The craziest thing is that we don't.
Yeah. Yes.
We love each other.
Because it's the divide and conquer thing.
Right.
Yeah. It's like we can still control you if you're not friends.
I've been here for how many months? 26
a few
years,
years,
27 years.
Legend.
But in those years, I've always felt there is room for everyone.
Yes.
What I bring to the table is different than what Gandhi brings to the table. Is different than you, Shelley. It's different than you, Crystal. It's all like, there's something for everyone. And that's what I love about our show is that if you listen, there's so many of us. There's someone for everyone. Maybe you don't like me that I have kids, that that I'm a loud Bronx girl, whatever. Maybe you don't like Gandhi because she, does what
Is
she
brown.
does. Or, let's hope that's not the reason. But maybe you associate with Scary because he's a single guy in the city or whatever. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
There just is something for everyone. And that's why I feel like it takes so many people to make this world go round. And why would you want to pit people against each other? why wouldn't you want to just try to embrace each other and lift people up? It makes no sense. It's never made sense to me whatsoever.
It doesn't. And so many people take, and I'm not just saying women in this category at all, so many people take one person's success to mean, well, then I'm not successful. And that's not the case at all.
Right.
Just because one person succeeds doesn't mean you can't also succeed in your own lane, doing your own thing. And as much as I know we all started in radio and you probably had a coach at some point come in and tell you how you were supposed to deliver something.
Oh, yes. I had to put a pencil in my
more
mouth.
like this
Yep.
person.
Yeah.
Be like this.
Yeah,
you need
listen
to
to
speak
this girl.
way.
Do what she does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How has that worked out for any of you? Because for me, as soon as I stopped paying attention to that, I was never the girl who cared about hair and makeup. I was never the person who was all about like all the girly things. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
It just wasn't me. So it didn't come across genuine. As soon as I gave that up and I leaned into the nerdy science part of my life and the absolute child of immigrants, like all of these things that they used to tell you to cover up, that's when I started to be way more successful. So don't let people tell you what your lane is. You're the one driving. You pick your lane.
Yep. It's like when I was in college, they made me put a pencil in my mouth. And they said, you need to lose your Bronx accent or you're never going to work
I
in
heard that.
radio. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, the New York accent thing is just not going to work. And I was like, oh, okay. So when I interned here, they said the reason I got my job on air was we like your Bronx accent.
Aw.
We'd like you to use that on the air more. And I'm just like, but what about the pencil? You don't want to put the pencil? I'm like, no. So that's actually because I was true to myself. I knew when I get freaking pissed, there's no way the Bronx girl's not going to come out.
That's my
and
favorite when Danielle's
sound
mad.
it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's it. And you know what? If you don't love it, you hate it, I'm sorry, but it's genuine and that's who I am.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that we're all on the same page saying that everyone has their own lane and can do their own thing without trying to impede on other because
Yeah.
we've all had that caddy competition. We've had women and men in our own industries try to put us down or cover our, as usually metaphorical shine. But we don't need that because if we encourage each other to be each other, then this girl's going to be her strengths that I don't have.
Right.
And this woman's going to be her strengths that I don't have, but I have my own thing and we can all succeed in this space.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just to piggyback and circle it and full circle what Danielle was saying, I think now more than ever when women want to hear from women. I think for so long, especially in our industry, it was always like women want to hear men because women want to hear like
What they want.
a sexy man and they want to admire. And I'm like, nah. First of all, where are the sexy men? Hey. Give me a sexy
Shots
man.
fired.
Wait
Yeah.
a second.
No, not talking about here. Everyone here is sexy.
Everywhere else.
I feel like you're talking in the workplace or at
I'm
home?
saying I'm talking specifically
world
like
in general.
In general, like, people, like girls will only pay attention if you have like a cute guy talking to them. But I think now with the women's movement and where we are today in 2022, women want to hear from women. They want to be inspired by
Yep.
women, and they want to champion other women. And I think
Yes.
that is so
Yes.
fabulous.
I think, too, one of the things, we do have some female leadership here at iHeart. We don't have nearly enough.
No.
Our boss, Thea, was talking about that the other day. I believe she said something like 12.2% of all programmers are women.
Mm-hmm.
That means about 81.8% are men, right? And those men, not that they're intentionally doing anything, maybe this will get me fired, but we have a panel of men who are talking to women. In Top 40 Radio, what is our demo? We're talking to women.
Right.
These programmers and the men at the higher up levels, they try to tell us, hey, little lady, this is what you like.
Right.
And that's not true. I think Danielle probably knows what I like more. Crystal knows what I like. Shelley knows what I like. These guys with the best intentions think that they know, but how can you when you're not one of us?
Right.
So that is where all of the representation is so important as well. And I love that we work for a guy, gratuitous shout out to Elvis Duran, who legitimately puts Danielle's voice and my voice at the top of the totem pole when it comes to whose opinion do I want right now?
Right.
Because to whom am I speaking? And it is empowering, and I have never worked in an environment like this before. So
great.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
So
Let's
great.
talk about Elvis for 1 minute. Not Elvis, we love you if you're listening. We're just but let's talk about lack of flexibility with the work, especially like if you have kids or if you have, other commitments. A lot of times places that you work are going to be like, well, sorry, but we can't hire you because, this, that, and the
Yes.
other thing. And, especially if you're a woman.
Oh.
If you're a woman and say you go on a job interview Sometimes they used to ask you, "Are you planning on getting pregnant anytime soon?"
Yes.
And then you wouldn't get the job because they would think, one, you're not going to take it seriously enough. Your kids are going to be sick, and you're going to call out sick, and you're going to have to be home, and all these things, which is terrible. But Elvis, thank goodness, has always said to me, what do you need to do with the kids? And I'll go, oh, there's this thing going on at school, or so and so's sick. He says, you know where you need to be. And you go and be there.
That's so
and we'll be
sweet.
here tomorrow.
That's rare, too.
Very
rare.
Exactly. And that, to me, has always been like one of the most amazing things, because I've heard so many horror stories that does not happen.
I've been there.
Right. So go ahead. So you tell us where you've been.
No, that is absolutely a thing that has to do with the difference between men and women in the workplace. A woman misses work because she wants to do a breakfast with her kid at school. And it's, women, they always have to take time off for their kids. A man misses work because he wants to do breakfast with kids at his school. And they're like, what a super dad.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Donuts with dad? So great.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to go
He's
do
so
that.
present in their life.
Right. Why can't that be the same? And by the way, her body went through a giant change. She has bounced back and returned to the workplace with chemical changes, with staying up all night in nursing, with all of these things going on. Women should be applauded for those things, not looked at as lesser because you might need a little bit more time to get things going. It's nonsensical. Yeah. We all see it happen.
Yeah. And with COVID, we've all learned that there is more than one way to work now.
Yeah.
You don't have to be at the station 24/7 or wherever you work. Like, you can do both. You can be at home doing your kid stuff and doing this, and then come to work a couple of days a week. Or there are ways to get it done.
Yeah, the stereotype of work-life balance. I definitely want to speak for women that don't have kids, because a lot of the times people look at us like, oh, well, you don't have a family, so you can do whatever, and your family shouldn't be a priority. It's like, I still have a nephew. I still have abuelitos. I still have tios and tias that I really want to prioritize them as well. And I know I don't have kids, but family's still very, very important.
Absolutely.
And I think that definitely needs to be known in the workplace, that even if you're not a mother, you still have priorities and families that are important to you.
Absolutely.
That's why I like with Gandhi, her boyfriend Brandon doesn't live here. He lives in Detroit. And Elvis is awesome with saying, oh, well, you can take your equipment and go stay with him for a couple of weeks and you can still do the show. Like, it's just, it works. And I think, like you were saying, Crystal, during COVID, I think was when a lot of us realized what was really important in our lives, and that there's so many other things that you need to focus on. And yes, our careers are amazing, but there are other things that you need to make sure you're paying attention to.
Yeah. I have a friend who, she had a baby during COVID, and she works for herself. She's a freelancer. This broke my heart. And her contracts were coming up for renewal. She didn't tell anybody that she was pregnant. She was terrified that they weren't going to renew her contract when they found out that she was having a baby, because, like everything that you guys said, she wouldn't be available. She wouldn't be as productive. She would neglect, work. So she worked until she gave birth. She gave birth on Christmas a year ago. And thank God that it was Christmas so she had a little bit of time off. She did not take one day off, and she did not let anybody know she was pregnant until she re-signed her contracts and that she had that baby. And they're like, you didn't tell us you were having a baby. She's like, well, yeah, because I knew you weren't going to renew my contracts if I told you that I was pregnant, because then you would think that I wouldn't be available from when you need me. It broke my heart. This woman killed herself, and that's just the sad reality. She was terrified.
It feels like being a woman is a liability in the workplace. Like, it feels like sometimes, she's gonna get pregnant again. Wow, she's gonna take more maternity leave. Or sometimes guys hide that they are parents just so that they can get hired for stuff, because it's sometimes easier for them. But women, like, we're out here pregnant, we can't really hide a whole baby sometimes.
And you shouldn't have to.
No, some women are scared to apply for jobs because they think that they won't get hired because they have a kid, and that everyone knows that it's harder for her and she needs to make more money for kids.
Can you even ask that anymore
no.
in a job?
You shouldn't be allowed to.
They used to say, are you planning on getting pregnant anytime soon? Can they still? I
No.
don't know.
No. I don't think you can ask that question, but you can guise it under other ways. Like, so tell me what your 5-year plan is.
Yeah.
Things like that. Well, in 5 years, I'll be married and have kids. Oh, not for you.
Right.
This job is not for you.
Right.
Exactly.
And to circle back really quickly to what you just said, Shelley, when you say this woman killed herself, you meant as far as work goes. She was killing herself.
Oh my God!
Right?
Yes. Let me clarify. No. She is thriving. She She's
gosh.
loving her life. She has a beautiful 1-year-old child.
great.
She's alive and well, doing amazing.
Yeah,
Okay,
Just
good.
for a second, I was like, wait, we just
No,
really
I'm
glossed
saying
right over that. Okay.
She did everything she could to recover from having this child while keeping all of her contracts because she needed this money.
Wow.
Very stressful.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right, let's talk about the power of no.
Ooh.
So the word no is something that I didn't learn it for a very long time, and I have to admit that I'm still learning it. I have a very hard time. Actually, Nate's the one who says to me, Danielle, sometimes you just have to say no. I'm the type of person where if I can do for you, I want to do for you. If I can, go the extra mile or even put myself out, I want to do it. If whatever. But sometimes, I'm sure you all realize that you can't do it, or you do it and then you're like, oh my gosh, now I can't do this, or I feel sick, or I whatever, and you have to take care of you. And I'm learning more now that there are times where I do have to say no, and I can't feel mad about it or sad about it or bad about it. Because a lot of times I do, I'll say no and then I'll go, oh, I feel terrible that I said no. But it was better for me at that moment, and I had to take care of me and my mental health,
Without a doubt. And a lot of people get confused, but no is a full sentence. No.
Yeah.
Period.
I love that.
You don't have to say no because or no, I'm sorry. No, it can just be no. And if people are, digging into you and saying why, schedule conflict.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm not available. Period. You don't have to make all of these, because I feel like as women, we really feel like, oh, okay, I have to give you all of the reasons why I can't. I have a dentist appointment and my grandmother died and then this. No. You just don't feel like it.
Yeah.
So no, period. And I know that, again, that comes off bitchy, right? To a lot of people, it's not. You're protecting yourself, your mental health, and your life and your time. Super important to say that.
Yeah. I'm getting there. It's tough for me. I mean, I'm like Danielle. I have that piece where I say, like, I get this courage and I'm like, I'm saying no. And then I hit that send and I'm like, oh God. Why did I say no? I'm like, wait, let me just write a quick follow-up email just being like, but if you need me, I can make things work and I can rearrange, and it's like, it's really upsetting to me. And then I start feeling bad that I even feel that way, I remember a couple of months ago, I was asked, I'll be completely transparent. A couple months ago, I was asked to do something here and I didn't want to miss a therapy session. So I said, no.
Good for you.
And I actually was transparent with my female boss.
Okay.
And she was like, okay.
Yeah.
Good. And I was like, did I do the right thing? And I was
Yeah.
like, I did, because I need to be the best version of me here.
Right.
Yes.
And if I'm not taking care of myself, then I can't give my all here.
Yeah.
And so, I felt a little guilty about it. I felt like, am I prioritizing the right thing?
Yeah.
Because are you serious about your job? Are you serious about your career? 100%, which is why I am taking care of my mental health, because I want to go as far as I can. And if I'm not the best version of me, I can't do that. So
I'm really proud of you for doing that.
Yeah, that's awesome, Shelley.
Thank you.
Can't wait for the next one.
Right? I also think it's important for us to accept no too, right? Because
Yes.
if we don't accept it from each other, if we don't give each other those boundaries, then how are we going to grow together? So if it's definitely important to take into account what people feel and where they're at, or if they say no, then maybe you can ask, oh, can I help you, or are you okay? Asking if we're okay, because hearing someone say no means that they're at the limit for whatever it is.
Right.
So how can we help you with that?
Right.
I'm not asking you to do it. It's already a no, but is there anything, are you okay? Is anything going on? Just checking in on each other emotionally, because if someone's saying no, that means there's a lot going on behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Of course. Let's talk about the hashtag #MeToo movement for a moment. So working here, I know, look, maybe where you work too, but I know working in radio, man, we joke about some things and say some things behind the scenes, maybe in other jobs would get you in a lot of trouble. So you got to be careful. So I feel like a lot of times people don't know where the line is. And I know we take a course every year, an online course that teaches you, like, Joey went over to Laura and he tried to say something inappropriate. Do you think it was okay? And you have to.
Right.
Was this joke okay or no?
So,
It's
right.
like-
What box does this check box?
Meanwhile, I'm always like, well, I laughed.
Right.
So.
Oh,
no.
I feel like at least here we work in an environment where people don't really overstep the boundary. Have you guys ever been in a situation that you felt like, wait a second, this is not okay?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, we are women in a male-dominated business. there are big personalities. A lot of people are always on. You know those people who they don't shut off once the mic shuts off. They continue to do what they do.
Yeah.
And I think probably all of us at some point have experienced a, whoa, what did you just say?
Mm-hmm.
To which I always respond with, whoa, what did you just say? And I think it's really important to let people know immediately, like, hey, I got a boundary and you're approaching or crossing it. Before, I'm not saying don't go to your bosses. Of course, if you're uncomfortable, I know there are different power dynamics in different places, so you might not feel comfortable saying to somebody no, but you are always your first line of defense. So if you're not feeling okay about something, again, back to that power of no, you tell these guys no, or women,
Or
if
women.
there are some, you know,
And look,
creeping
we're
on
talking
you.
to the guys too, because a lot of times guys are put in situations
Yes.
that they're not comfortable in. I know it's International Women's Day, but sometimes guys can feel it too, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think now we're starting to get to that point in time where you're not going to have the severe repercussions as much as you would have prior if you say, you know what, that made me really uncomfortable. I think now if you say that made me uncomfortable, a lot of people are going to take a step back
Yep.
and say, oh, what did I do?
Thank gosh.
Let me not do that again. And that might be all you needed to say. But again, you're your first line of defense. So stick up for yourselves, always.
I think for me, sometimes it's really upsetting to me sometimes when you think somebody's interested in you professionally, and then you find out that they're interested in you just like romantically. So they're using sort of an opportunity to say like, hey, I can help you with your career. And you're like, really? That's so cool. Let's talk. And then they're like, but first you got to let me take you to dinner. And then the second you're like, well, I don't know. Let's just do it here in the office. And they're like, and then you never hear back from them again.
Right.
It's,
Right.
That
There's your
stuff
tell.
it's really, really upsetting. And that can really take its toll on you when it happens more than once. So I guess that's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of things like that. Like, are you interested in me? Do you really think I'm talented? Do you really want to help me further my career? Or are you just, being a nasty dude? So I've experienced that so much. And I think all of us have.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
For sure. And we all started as interns and really, really young in the industry. And I feel like in radio, a lot of the times the males try to sexualize us and or try to have us talk or do things that are sexual. Because we all know like sex sells and that's just the easiest thing to do. But there's a lot more to us than just our sexuality. And I'm happy Gandhi brought up our own boundaries because that's so true. It's like I don't have to share what I don't want to share. If you're being invasive, I'll let you know. I don't like to talk about that. I mean, my mom and dad are listening, and this is making me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
So just empowering each other to know that it's okay to have our own boundaries. It's okay if a girl wants to talk about whatever she wants to talk about. If she wants to talk about what's going on in the sheets, that's cool too. But
Sure.
on her right and on her terms, not because you want to pry it out of her because you want to get your ratings up or because you're feeling, like a hornball at this moment. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important for us to let women know that you have your own boundaries. It's okay. And just share what you want to share. And if people are making you uncomfortable, like Gandhi said, like, what did you just say?
Yeah.
Let them know. Put them in their place.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that we're talking about this because it's a big issue for all industries.
And thank gosh, nowadays, like you were saying, Gandhi, like, back in the day, especially in Hollywood, my gosh, the stories that have come out there, like the casting couches and all that's been going on for years. But, people wouldn't have taken a step back. They would have just kept going and kept going. And now, because of things like the Me Too movement and stuff like that, women especially feel more empowered to say, no, you stop right now. And the person will take a double take and go, oh, damn. Maybe I should not be acting like that. Yeah. And I don't think that would have happened a couple of years ago.
No.
I think a lot of them would have just kept on going.
I think there's another side to that, though. Anytime we see a female in a position of power and we're like, how did she get there? Who did she sleep with?
Oh, I hate those
I hate that.
Yes.
It's like, are you kidding?
Right.
How did you get where you at? You're at. Like, who did you sleep with?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's terrible.
The answer is nobody. I
Right.
just worked really hard.
Right.
I think also, as far as the Me Too movement goes, it gave women a lot more power,
Yeah.
right? But with that power comes responsibility too. And I think we're probably all on the same page. If I were to say, when you make an accusation, please make sure that the accusation is something that's really happened.
Yes. Yeah.
Because when people make
Yes.
accusations in order to save themselves from an uncomfortable situation with, like, maybe I didn't get this thing that I wanted, so now I'm going to say that I was harassed.
Right.
That weakens all of us.
Yep.
As a collective, it makes it so much harder for one of us. If in fact we get harassed, because then people want to turn and say, but she didn't, look what she said. And now the onus is on us to prove all of these things we said, when we really should be at a place where we can believe each other. And weak accusations, wrong accusations, inaccurate accusations does not help. Those don't help any of us.
Yeah, and I've heard from guys recently just on this subject saying, like, you know, they'll be like, well, now we can't even talk to women because anytime we do anything, we're just going to be accused. And I was like, listen, that's, again, dramatic and emotional. And you're really, like, generalizing and overreacting. But on the same token, a simple conversation and communication can really go a long way. Like if I do feel uncomfortable, that you may, as a guy, you may be a really good guy, but you just crossed a boundary and you don't even realize you crossed it. If I communicate with you and tell you that I feel uncomfortable, and you accept that you did something that made me uncomfortable, we can leave it at that and we can move on. You know,
and
what
we're
I'm
both better off for it.
And we're both better off for it. Yeah, and you won't do it again in the future because now you have a little bit more awareness.
Yep,
absolutely.
And we really have to say thank you to the women that made their voices heard in the Me Too movement, and that continue to say what they need to say, to speak up when they're uncomfortable, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have examples on how to handle. We wouldn't have HR teams out here helping us when we're in uncomfortable situations. So it's really up to us to make sure that we believe each other, have each other's backs, and let our voices be heard.
Yeah. Yep. Very, very nice. Very well said. Okay. So we were talking about salaries before and negotiating. And I know, Gandhi, you said that you were in a situation where, you know, they said you should have held out for more money.
Years later, they told me.
And you were in a situation where, Crystal, where you said, well, I held out for more money, and they said, too bad, we're not giving you that money, peace out, right? So how, like the Women's World Cup soccer team, this is a good example. I was so excited because they win more games than the men. They get to the World Cup more than the men have. And they finally are being taken seriously. And they're finally getting their day and their payday. And that made me so happy. And I feel like a lot of times, I know I keep going back to Hollywood, but you know, I do the entertainment. So, you know, that's where my mind goes.
It's a good reference.
So in Hollywood now, finally, and it's still not where it should be, but a lot of women are now getting as big of a payday as the guys do.
Yep.
Do you have ways that you like to negotiate? Like, how do you ladies go into a room and say, this is what I think I deserve? Or do you not do that at all? Look at Shelley's face.
Wow.
I wish you could see Shelley's face if you're not watching the video.
You know, I'd like to hear Gandhi's first. I'd like to hear her talk. I feel like she can offer more right now.
I think that it's really important when you're going into a negotiation to have a little bit of a gauge on what other people in a similar situation to you are making, what specifically white men who do the same thing that you do for the same amount of time with the same experience level, what they're making. And what's very interesting is so many companies say, we do not want you to discuss your salary with others. And for the longest time, we all thought, oh, because they're protecting us. Oh, no, they're not. They're protecting themselves because they don't want Shelley, just for an example, they don't want Shelley to know that the guy on another station is making more money than her. But why is he? So I think it's really important to do your research and get kind of like a general idea. What would somebody with this experience get?
And don't just Google it because
No.
you Google everybody's net worth.
Right.
I laughed my ass off at my net worth.
Oh,
I'm
I
like,
laughed at mine
where's
too.
that money?
Get out of here.
I don't see that money.
No. I also think it's really important to have little alternatives for yourself. So let's say that you say, I want $30,000 more. And they come back and they say, go F yourself. We're going to find someone else. Well, then you can say, okay, how about if we set up a bonus structure where I do everything I'm supposed to say, I get you your numbers, what do I get then? Yep. You can also negotiate for more vacation, which in essence, you get more vacation. That's a bit of a pay raise because you're working less and you're getting the same money. You can negotiate for benefits as far as maybe you can pay for my cell phone. What about gas? What about parking?
Parking's a big deal.
Hello, New York City. There are all kinds of ways that you can still advocate for yourself and make big changes without just saying, this is it, I want this salary, and if you don't do it, then I'm out. There are tons of ways.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think is when sometimes they'll say, well, I'm sorry, here's your contract. I want it back by 10 p.m. tomorrow night.
Yep.
Always
You
do that.
have to be able to say, you know, in a nice way, I appreciate that you still love me and you want me to work here, but I can't just do that. I need to look at it. I need to make sure, you know, everything is the way it should be. I needed to show it to people. You have to give me more time. You shouldn't feel bad for asking for more time for things like that.
Throw it on your imaginary lawyer. Say, my lawyer's not ready until tomorrow morning. Like, it's no, not any time. But I think that you can also, what will help in your salary negotiation is having what you do and what you bring to the table laid out.
Yeah.
Be like, listen,
Always.
you want me as a candidate because I could do this, this, this. I've done this, this, and this. Other people doing the same thing, they don't do what I do. So how are you an asset to them, and how is that going to reflect in your paycheck? And just throw the, you know, I really want to be here. This is a dream come true, and to give you all this work, I think this will make me feel fair. This is fair to me, and to make me proud to be here and work for you. This is what I would like, and I think that can go a long way.
Yeah. I guess I'll add. I think you all make excellent points, and I've definitely taken notes because I've had some experiences that weren't very positive. But it's all learning, though, right? I mean, I've learned from every single experience and every negotiation that I've been in, and I think the main thing for me is really taking my time. I think Danielle touched on something that's super important to me. I've always felt rushed, and I've always felt like if I don't get this in at a certain time, they're not going to want me anymore, or they're going to say, forget it. And let's be real. If they're offering you a contract and there's money on the table, they want you.
Yeah.
They don't do this lightly. So, you have the right to take the time, process it, figure out what you want. Like Crystal said, make a list. Like Gandhi said, what are you willing to settle for? Not settle, but what are you willing to, if they don't give you exactly what you want, what are you willing to propose instead? I mean, really just giving yourself that time to figure out exactly what you're willing to take and what you're willing to walk away from. I mean, I think that's the scariest part for me is like getting to a place where you have to be so confident in who you are and your worth that if I don't believe in me, why should you, right? So if I believe so strongly in me and you're not willing to believe in me as much as I believe in me, I have to get to a point where I'm like, you know what? I got to be somewhere where they believe in me like I do. Right. And if I have to be willing at some point to walk away because that is going, we haven't spoken about mental health yet, but that will eventually take a toll on your mental health.
Yeah,
if you are somewhere where you're never appreciated, whether it's through support, emotional, or even financial, I mean, what money means nothing and position means nothing.
Right.
So
doesn't.
And I think also if you have somebody negotiating on your behalf, not everybody does, but like Crystal, if you say, if you have a lawyer, if you have an agent or whatever, make sure they have your best interest at heart. Because I'm going to tell you, years ago, I had somebody saying that they were doing that for me. And they came to me and they said, hey, so you are looked upon as a nice person right now, but I'm just letting you know that if you don't sign this and if you don't take what they're offering you, you're not going to look very good in their eyes anymore. Oof. And I'm not even kidding you. That somebody that was supposed to be negotiating for me came back and told me that, and it was a lie.
And the threat was you're not going to be viewed as a nice person.
Right.
Okay.
It was a total lie, and it was whatever. So
name that.
And I'm not going to ask.
How did you maneuver that? How did you maneuver that?
I did not sign what they wanted me to sign. I said, okay, let me look into it. I did some more negotiation. After that negotiation was done, and I figured out what I needed to figure out and what was truth and what wasn't truth, I went and I called somebody and I said, just so you know, they will no longer be representing me. I do not want anything to do with them anymore. I don't want to have them, speak for me. Don't show them my contract. Don't whatever. And then the other person who was involved took over and said, I totally get it. Mm-hmm. Now I work with someone who I absolutely love. Yeah, it's but back then, and I was young too, and I didn't know. Like I didn't know. Like I was scared. Like at first I was like, oh my gosh, they're not going to like me.
Right.
Like what do you mean? What do you mean? So I had a lot of questions. I got scared. Things happen. You rush into things. You sign things you shouldn't sign or whatever. But thankfully, most of the time, people that are working for you will have your back.
This is a business.
Yes.
They don't have to like us, and we don't have to like them. As long as we're doing our job, that's all they care about.
But disclosure, we all like each other.
Yeah, we like each other.
Yeah. No, but you're totally right.
Yes.
Well, we have to remind ourselves that, and it's so hard.
Yeah. What about connections? Like a lot of people say that men still surpass women in having the networks and they have more opportunities and stuff like that. And it's easier for them to find, a mentor or whatever and a sponsorship for an event or something like that. Do you guys still feel it's like that?
I actually kind of feel the opposite. I feel like women, at least the women who I know in this industry, do a very good job now of coming together and saying like, hey, you're new here. That's what happened for me when I came here. Hey, you're new here. If you need somebody to show you the ropes, if you need somebody to kind of work with you a little bit, let me know. I'll give you the details on people around here. I'll tell you what's going on. I think that women naturally are better networkers.
Yeah.
We're used to having friends. We're used to keeping up with our friends and saying, hey, how you doing? I have this conversation with my boyfriend all the time. I'll ask him how one of his boys is. He's like, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You don't ever just check on him like, hey, man, you doing all right? He's no, we don't do that. But women do that. There just haven't been enough of us in the workplace to make each other feel supported. And to Shelley's point earlier, they were trying to put us in the Thunderdome with each other. So a lot of women stayed away from trying to build and trying to network. But once you break that barrier and you realize, no, that's not really the way it's working here. There are some really dope ass chicks around. Let me talk to them. Let me see what's going on. Some of my closest friends have come from work. So I think that women do a great job of networking. Where I will say it's a little tougher, it goes back to the whole sports thing, right? And this is just one example of a lot of those things, but if a bunch of guys are going to go and golf together on the golf course,
That's
how
a
many
meeting.
of you?
That's a meeting.
That's a meeting, right? And how many of you golf? Do you
No.
golf?
No.
Crystal?
No.
Shelley?
Nope.
Danielle?
No.
Right. So you're not part of that meeting. You're not on the golf course, but they have a chance to disguise their little golf game as a meeting, and then women are automatically left out of those things. Even if it's intramural sports, whatever it is, a lot of that stuff does bond guys.
Sure.
And in that capacity, sure, it's harder for us to keep up with them as far as networking goes. But I think on our own, women are pretty solid when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. And if a guy's going to the strip club, I'm coming.
Don't you dare
I wanna go too.
But I'm not going to the strip club with you. I think, look, I definitely agree with that. I think, I know for me, when I found out, so besides you ladies on the morning show, I mean, I was the only full-time female outside of mornings, of course. So when I found out that Crystal was coming, I was so excited. I'm like, yes, power in numbers. This is so great. We need another full-time jock on Z100. So that's great. And I think I definitely could have done, like, I want Crystal and I to be even closer. Like, I want us to, but, and even with Gandhi, when she got here, I'm like, yes, like, of course we don't see each other a lot, and we, I want us to all talk more, but I definitely think that, like I said before, there's so much strength in numbers, and as long as we are secure within ourselves, we don't have to worry about, like, Crystal's going to take shine away from me, Gandhi's going to take shine away from me, Danielle's going to take shine away from me, because we all offer such different things. We all bring so many different things to the table, and, like, we can together we can change the world. And I don't say that in like a cliche way.
No,
I really
you're
mean
right.
it, because
You're
if we have each other's backs, like, we're unstoppable together.
All right, so wait. So we actually have to, can you believe our hour is almost up?
No way.
So yeah. So saying that, Shelley, if you guys had to give a young woman who's listening right now some advice, what would your advice be? Go ahead, Crystal.
Advice on what?
Just in general.
Just in general?
Yeah.
One, maybe like listen to your mom. I wish I would have listened to my mom a lot more growing up. I feel like a lot of the problems I would have been in wouldn't have happened. But also just be strong in who you are. Of course, we're going to ask for help from other people, but you developing into your career and into whatever you want to do, you're going to learn on your own what is right and what is not. And that comes from your gut and your main feeling. So if you feel something is off or something is weird or you're not sure, Shelley, you hit on it. Take some time. Don't make a quick rash decision. Take some time. And if your gut's telling you something is wrong, then something's probably wrong. And you need some time to emotionally like figure out how to conquer any situation that you're headed with. So listen to your gut. Take some time and just be strong in who you are and what you think is best for you. That's my advice.
There you go.
I like
That's
it.
just me.
Gandhi.
Okay, I have 3 pieces.
Okay.
Ooh.
So the first one is stop waiting for the time to be right, because if you wait for that, you're going to be waiting forever.
Mhm.
You never will feel this is the moment to make my move. You're always going to doubt yourself. You'll always give yourself reasons to have another day, take another day. No, sometimes you just have to jump and you'll learn how to do it. The second one, it doesn't matter what other people think of you. We were actually talking about this on the show not long ago. And whenever, specifically with women, you try something new, you venture out of your comfort zone, there are always going to be people throwing little daggers, right? Who do you think you are? Why would you think you can do that? First of all, because you can. But second of all, the piece that really got me was no statue has ever been risen for the critic. So don't listen to all of the people who have the crap to say, because they're watching you. They're looking at you and they're thinking, I'm going to take her down. You're not looking at them. You're not talking about them. You're not going and trolling their Instagram page because you don't care, right? So screw the critics. And then the last one, be the woman you wish you had seen when you were growing up.
Yep.
because for me, that's a big one. I didn't see any little brown girls on TV, in radio. There were no Indians specifically, you know. And now the messages that I get from little brown girls or big brown girls that say, hey, I finally see me, and that makes a huge difference. It moves me, and it makes me feel like, even though we talk about farts and, you know, whatever's going on. Farts are important. Everybody farts. But in the midst of, like, all of that, it still feels like, okay, we're making a difference. And I think that that's just really important. Just be the person that you wish you would have seen.
Love it. Shelley?
I think I would say don't be afraid to fail or make mistakes. I think that's something that will hold you back and will take you nowhere. I mean, I think there's always a lesson in the experience and lesson in the mistakes. Because, listen, if we did everything perfect the first time, like, where would we all be? I mean, you have to. What do they say? Like, you have to make, like, if you're making a lot of mistakes, that means you're trying different things, right? So I think that, you know, I've always been afraid to, like, do things and not do it perfectly, and that's never going to happen.
No way.
I think you have to just, like you ladies already said, try. And as long as you learn something and you grow from each experience, I think you're in a really good place. And also, jealousy and comparison to others is the death of joy.
Yes.
You can open up your
100%.
phone and you can feel so amazing about yourself. You did your meditation, whatever you do in the morning that makes you feel good. You drink coffee and you finally pooped. I don't know. That's what makes me That's what makes me happy in the morning. And then I open Instagram and I'm like, wow, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
Dude, my ass does not look
Right.
like that.
Right. And the second you start comparing yourself to somebody else, it's over for you.
Yeah.
And all the ideas you had in your head suddenly are crap. So we need to stop doing that.
Absolutely.
All right. And I would like to say that it's easier to be kind than to be an ass because it takes more energy to be a nasty person. It really, really does. And look, yes, you want to be assertive, you know, all these things. But this world right now is in a sad place. It really is, with all these other things going on. And the world needs kindness. The world needs us to be nice to each other, to lift each other up, to embrace each other, to not be jealous, to help if someone needs help. It's just, I just don't understand. I'm going to start to cry too, because I just don't understand why there's not more love. And why we don't just accept each other and our differences and what each other brings to the table, because it's just what makes the world go round. Differences are what makes the world go round.
You know what it is, Danielle? I think, first of all, you're so beautiful and you're so inspiring to me, but I think it all stems with us accepting ourselves first. If we can't accept ourselves, it's really hard to accept other people. So I think it starts from within. I know that may sound corny.
No, it doesn't.
But, like, that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
So if I'm mad at you, I'm just projecting how I feel about myself. So that's, I think, it's really, I think that's where we are today.
That's what I try to tell my kids. I try to tell my kids, like, if someone's getting bullied or someone says something mean about someone else, I go, look, I know it's really hard to not be mad at them, but something's going on with them. Something, nobody would do that if everything was fine. You know what I mean? So just look within and try to spread more joy. And with that, ladies, Gandhi, Crystal, Shelley, it is International Women's Day. I love you guys.
Love you too.
Love you.
Thank you for being here. Z100, thank you for having us and letting us take over for this hour. Thank you, iHeart, for being so amazing. And go hug your moms today, or hug a woman. Hug a woman in your life, even if it's, you know, I don't know, grandma. Go give
Hug
grandma
yourself.
a hug.
Tell yourself you love you.
Send a nice DM to somebody who is inspiring to you,
There
who
you go.
you look up to. Let them know. It's important.
Thank you, guys. Love you.
Love you.
From the top of the Empire State Building,